Indeed. Welcome. Oh my god. I was hoping that I would got all the coughs out for today, but hold on. Jesus. It's the morning, so apparently my throat just will not cooperate. It's great. Anyway, 4 minutes past 10. Welcome, everyone. It's Reading Corner today. Yeah, some of that, I just feel like things are slowly falling apart. Like, there's my throat in the morning, and then there's the microphone that continues to not be screwed in at the proper time. It just kind of swings. It's just little signs, you know, little signs that things are falling apart. Also, I had a dream about this choir last night. It was pretty wild. It was like an international, it's like an international competition that we were part of. I met someone else who was palm colored like me, but who could also speak Korean, and we bonded over that. So that was pretty cool. And then Hyewon was there as well, which was pretty cool. But yeah, very very weird. Yeah, one of those very weird dreams. I had to run back and forth quite a lot, which is something that stresses me out. Like if I run somewhere and then I realize I've forgotten something, I have to run back, and then I get it and I run back there and I've forgotten something again. Like that was the cycle of the dream that I like constantly ran back and forth. It was pretty wild. It was pretty wild. Would anyone like to tell me their mental health today out of 10, their physical health out of 10, anything else that they would like to do, anything else they'd like to tell me about? Feel free to do so. Whether it's morning, evening, or afternoon for you, I hope you're having a wonderful day. I hope that it has been, or will be, or is being a wonderful day. Thank you, whether you are here in chat, whether you're watching by the VOD, whether I'm on in the background. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Obviously, we make no money from this, but it is nice to spend time with you. So thank you for making me a part of your day. Today we're going to do some reading. I have no idea what. We're just going to check the channels on Discord and see if there's anything that people have left for us to read. The people who usually write things are nowhere to be found. They have dropped the ball this week. Some motivation issues? I'm not sure, but either way, please make sure that you are drinking some water, that you're staying hydrated, and that you're being kind to yourself. And yeah, let's get into it. I've been having stretch streams lately. Same. Lots of them are like, can't communicate for some reason, cell not working, Wi-Fi not connecting, music too loud, fireworks causing hearing loss, etc. Damn, that sucks. Like maybe not being heard is the problem. Listen, I'm not a dream interpreter. You know what? Wait, no. Hold on. I am a dream interpreter. Taters. It sounds like you are frustrated with not being heard in your life. It seems like seeing these things, the fireworks represent an energy that you ache to put out into the universe, that the universe just doesn't feel ready for. And the Wi-Fi not connecting means you are lacking a signal in your life that takes you in a certain direction. I predict that you will have 3 more children by the end of the year. Triplets. That's my free reading for you. If you want the full reading, you're gonna have to pay. I'm just saying. If you want to know what the music is right now, it's from Pocket Bard. Go get Pocket Bard if you haven't got it already. Not a sponsor, just amazing. Decided to just have cereal as breakfast because I'm lazy out of 10. Yay! Very good, very good, very good. My mental health is I'm on the struggle bus out of 10. No! If I still have a job tomorrow, I'll be taking a week off to help focus on reading 5th season and writing my story. Yo! Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. What do you mean if you still have a job tomorrow? Is tomorrow when they decide that you've had too many points and then they decide to let you go? I mean, you know me, I fully feel like I'm never about to communicate my thoughts. And I don't feel like people want to excuse me with 3 more children. What the fuck, do you hate me? Yeah, if I still have a job, like what are you you mentioned earlier that you might be in danger of getting fired, but not you personally for like malpractice, but more like just like getting too many points. Like getting like hitting too many like call in 6 or something. I called in today, so I probably have too many points. Oh, okay. Is that it? Is that what they do? Like you just come into work the next day and they're like, sorry, you have too many points, so bye. Like end of day kind of thing? Because that is wild. I was typing some logical shit about the dream when I heard you say triplets. Alright, so in the writer's corner, we don't have a lot of here read this, if I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, we've done this. We've done Sylves, we've done Alferg. Ash is finished. Oh, you know what? Raine told me we could read their one, so maybe we can do Raine's. And then, yeah, we've done Alex's. There's Ember's, but I don't know if I don't know. He didn't really say I could do it or not, so. Okay. I also want to check this out. So there's Raine's thing as well. And okay. So there's Raine's one, and then there's another one by my friend. My friend called Sinopian, or also Robbie. And he's been writing for a long time. And we can do some of his as well. Because his brother put out a thing of his, and he says he wrote more stuff. Leave likes and comments if you can. It sparks joy for him. So we're going to put some eyes on that work. Because he writes he writes really well. I've read a lot of his stuff. Like, I'm pretty committed to his, I'm pretty committed to his writing. So, we're gonna read 2 things today. Your subscription has been cancelled. Oh, well, fuck you then. Okay, so this is, I think the one that Raine wrote is like a Destiny 2 thing. Yeah, it's a short story I wrote to provide some personal closure for my Destiny 2 character. Okay. Yeah, I have no idea about the lore of Destiny 2, but I do know that Raine loves the lore of Destiny 2, so that's why they probably were writing about this. Okay. Oh, in my dream there were 2,000 people watching your stream. What? What? 2,000 people? You mean just like now? That's right, there are 2,000 people in here right now. Yay! Very cool. I hate the call-in culture of North America. It's not quite as bad in Canada, but still bad. Yeah, I don't like it either. I'm not a fan. Like, I could pull out some decades-old poetry or something. Oh, like for reading? Yeah, I mean, you feel free. Or combo reading and music stream, maybe? We could do that. We could do that. Although, I don't know if I can. Oh, you DM'd me? I know, I'm ignoring you. I'm kidding. I just haven't got around to it yet. Or... Yeah, I'm down. I'm down. If Alferg is as well. Alright, and the siren is, I actually don't know the exact reason, but today's Memorial Day. Oh, okay. Oh! Okay, so very interesting. Today is actually Memorial Day in a lot of ways. Like, hold on a second. Like, today is, hang on. There was something here that there we go. Much more chill. Today is Memorial Day for a lot of things. It's not only Memorial Day in the West, in Europe, because it's the 80th anniversary of D-Day, but it is also Memorial Day here in Korea, which means that just before stream at 10 o'clock on the dot, there was a giant siren that went off, like, and it pierced through everything, and I heard it, like, in my head. It was very, very weird. It was a very loud siren. Not loud in the sense of, like, it hurt me, but loud, like, I don't think you could ever hide from it. So, very interesting. So yeah, I think that might have been for Memorial Day as well. Anyway, it's Memorial Day for a lot of things all over the world today. Right. I don't have anything, like, planned except for that. But that's what it is. So, I believe the last... the first thing we'll read is Raine's thing. This will be called the 7th Seraph. And then the next thing we'll read is Sinopian's thing, which will be called the Circlet of Midnight, Part 1. This is a teaser of the first chapter of I think his next little book. I'm not sure how much he's written since then, but when Mac posted it, it was like a long time ago, so I don't know how much he's written since then. All right. So without further ado, let's get into that. So, reading. Ooh, nice. It's put me there. The 7th Seraph. Okay. Cool. All right. So this is by Raine. This is the 7th Seraph. This is described as, quote, hold on. Quote, a short story I wrote to provide some personal closure for my Destiny 2 character. So this should be quite fun. Let's read it together, and we can talk about it afterwards. The 7th Seraph. Log entry 42. Restoring Rasputin has been challenging to me. Initially, I ventured forth with certainty towards restoring my former commander, out of sheer loyalty. I discovered through this process more about myself as well. Here comes the... As soon as I start reading, it happens like clockwork. There's phlegm in my throat. I constantly yawn. My voice isn't 100%. It's wild. Anyway, thanks for sticking around. I discovered through this process more about myself as well. Who I am. Was. I'm not the same. That much I understand from Tolstoy. But I understand that I had a life before this. Before becoming a guardian. Wait, Tolstoy, Rasputin? This feels like there's a parallel. According to the data fragments we've acquired from the submines, there was a group, a collective called the 7 Seraphs. Rasputin's chosen ones before the collapse. To my understanding, and the evidence points towards it with certainty, I was one of them. A peacekeeper. Kara 7, the 7th Seraph. Damn. Hello, 7th sister. This is the Inquisitorius. So, even though you might be quite lost, let me finish this first. There's a lot to unpack for me, though. Many questions grow in my head, and with each passing day that I breach through the bunkers and acquire more submine data, the questions just keep on piling up. Okay, so if you are confused about this, this happens a lot in fantasy stuff. People read, like, especially like if you're trying to world build, which obviously I don't think they're trying to do here. I think this is meant to be read with context of Destiny 2 lore. But what a lot of fantasy writers will try and do is they'll drop fantasy terms first in the book without you knowing what they mean, and then you'll kind of get what they mean later. And the more fantasy you read, the more you start to see there are parallels between what people might call different things. So, for example, Guardians, like, you know, that's kind of a main character type of organization. Guardians are maybe protectors against, you know, the bad guys or the antagonists. Maybe they're a group of protagonists. Maybe there's a twist in there. But if you've read enough fantasy and you see a term like a guardian, a warden, a sentinel, a barrier, those sorts of words are used interchangeably for these kinds of orders. And the same kind of thing as the collapse. So most fantasy settings have some kind of apocalyptic event that defines it. My world has one, and some worlds have many. This one clearly has the collapse, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, there we go. You've also got hints that this is sci-fi, like data fragments, submines. There was one as well. No, there were only those two, I think. Submine data is kind of the same. So yeah, so that's it basically. All right, log entry 43. One question that resurfaces is who I was before I became a Seraph. Rasputin doesn't seem too keen on explaining it to me, saying that there's a lot more data missing. I think he's evading it, personally. I've made some theories from what I myself can gather. I do not want to disturb Anna either. She's busy as it is with rebuilding Rasputin. Okay, so Rasputin is like a droid, maybe, like a robot kind of thing. And this person can maybe talk to them, like, in their mind or something. When I had the time and opportunity to do so, I decided to try and look through the personnel records in Mars. I found some mentions of the Seven Seraphs in various chat logs, but not a complete personnel log. Only Captain Morozova, First Lieutenant Voronin, and Baikov, rank unknown. I personally doubt there were only 7 of us, though it would make for a good story, I suppose. At the very least, it makes for a fitting, semi-esoteric name. Kara, on the other hand, does not appear anywhere. Esoteric means something that is very specific, something that could only be understood by the people who are in the know. Or that's usually how it's put. So esoteric, like, yeah, it's like a very specific sect of learning or knowledge or something like that. Yeah. That's Rasputin. Sorry, I've been distracted watching anime making popcorn. I mean, that's fine. That's okay. Do you want any I've told you, like, if I'm on in the background, it's totally cool. Do you want any explanations? Yeah, sure. You can give me some explanations about Rasputin. I assume there's it's a Destiny 2 character then? Yeah, I've heard of it before. But anyway. Log entry 44. Rasputin's close to stability, but a problem has arisen. Aramis has regained control of Seraph Station. She intends to activate Abhorrent Imperative. I do not need to know about Zivu Arath, Aramis, the Witness, and all that to know what this protocol is. Part of me already knew why it is so terrible, even before I was given an explanation. I knew about the protocol because I was created by Rasputin. It explains why I'm one of the Seraphs, despite not existing in any of the logs beforehand. It explains why I've felt this unquestioning loyalty to Rasputin even after the collapse. Part of his code lives in me. As we continue to fight through these bunkers in hopes of finding the means to prevent Abhorrent Imperative, I fail to see any solution, and in my own ruminations or calculations even, I only see one path ahead. I think Rasputin knows it as well. Interesting. So far this seems to be kind of leading. This is obviously leading towards somewhere. There feels like... it feels like we are being, like, taken somewhere, which is nice. I feel safe here with this writing. The writing's really good. I'm enjoying the personal nature of it, and I like that we are left to infer what's going on in the world through the words of just one person, which is what a personal log is supposed to do. I like it. It definitely nails the general, like, atmosphere that a personal log is supposed to have, which is a very limited perspective, but a personable one, an intimate one that we can connect with. So it doesn't give us as much information about the world as a just general description would have, but it is still very descriptive in terms of personability, like what the character would be feeling and things like that. Very cool. Okay. Rasputin is an AI called a war mind. They were a series of AIs, I assume war minds, were a series of AIs made prior to the collapse for, I'm assuming, war. Well, they were called war minds, so yeah. Okay, cool. So Rasputin is a war mind. Fair enough. All right, let's do more. Log entry 45. Today is the last day I will live. Damn. Rasputin has declared that he must activate Aurora Sacrifice. The fact that it's all in caps implies that maybe, like, this person has it in their head as that. Because if they were created by a war mind, then maybe they're like a half droid kind of thing, and then this would be like an important program in their head that whenever they think about it, it comes up in all caps. So that's interesting. This is meant to, like, break it away from everything else for us. So it's meant to, like, raise your eyebrows. Much to Anna's objections, it is unfortunately the only way ahead. I do not know how to feel about it myself. Much like Anna, part of me hopes there must be some other way, but I know that my conclusions, and Rasputin's by extension, are infallible. Ever since my awakening, I have fought countless hive back on Mars. I stood by Rasputin even as the darkness returned and swallowed Mars. I felt then that there was no other place for me to go, but I was confident that I would, in my unwavering loyalty, survive or die in glory. Tolstoy wasn't that optimistic, especially once his connection was jammed by the darkness, but we survived long enough to find a way out. I fought for the last city when the vanguard sought to stop the Almighty from crashing down upon it. Vague memories of the bunkers filled my mind the first time I entered them. It was in one of them that I woke up. A shotgun, the Kanjali, and a cipher machine by my side. Today is the day I carry them with me into battle for the last time. This is cool. This feels like a little homage to the beginning of the game versus the end of the game, maybe, like where you are now. Very interesting. Like it, this is maybe like what might have happened before, like a prologue, and then this feels like the beginning of the game, and then this feels like the end of the game. Very cool. Rasputin has explained all he knows about me, my creation, my purpose. He was proud. In Norse mythology, Kara is the name of one of the Valkyrie, known as the Wild Stormy One. The legend says that she was the reborn shape of an earlier one, Sigrun. Rasputin said that he found the name fitting me during creation. I think I know why, and I agree. I've parted ways with Anna and the others in the Lost City, and I'm currently in Seraph Station. The Guardian and I have defeated Ir Garza, uploaded Rasputin to the network, and as I speak, I await Aurora Sacrifice. The traveler is moving. Goodbye, Rasputin. Goodbye, Tolstoy. This is Kara 7 of the 7 Seraphs, signing out. Goodbye. Very cool. This is great. I don't really have many. I don't have many notes. I'm not sure what kind of. I imagine that this is very much a description of the plot of Destiny 2. I'm assuming, but yeah, the all caps is because that's how things labeled by Rasputin pop up in the written portions of lore. That's cool. I like that a lot. Very, very cool, yeah. Also, yes, his data hub was in Old Russia. That makes sense why it's called Tolstoy, Rasputin, and stuff like that. Yeah, Raine, I don't know if you're, like, watching this, but if you're watching it on the VOD, this was really cool. I think my favorite part about this is you have understood the style of writing that is necessary for a personal log, which is good. I like this a lot. Like I said, it remains... the only hints about the lore of the actual world that we get are through the eyes of the person talking, and there's no like actual description of events that are going on. It's not super detailed, which is good because personal logs are rarely super detailed. Most people who record personal logs are not authors. They are just giving like their own personal log of things, like personal accounts. So understanding that leads to really like compelling personal log writing. So I really enjoyed this. It remains quite, well, personal. It makes me feel intimate, like I'm involved with this person, like I'm connected to them in some way, which is good. So yeah, really, really, really good job here. I think it's a very straightforward line of plot. It's really, it feels like a type of log that I would find in a video game playing the aftermath of this. Like whatever might have happened here, if I were playing Destiny 3, for argument's sake, and if I had, like, if I found, you know, evidence of this battle that happened, or like the 7 Seraphs or whatever, I would find a personal log or 3 that would contain this. And it doesn't feel out of place at all. I think this would definitely be good in a video game. So yeah, this was really good, man. This is really, really good. Okay. All right, so that's yeah, that's the 7th Seraph. Love to hear what you guys would think. Alfred, does this feel like a Destiny 2 personal log? Does it match the style? Oh, I should oh no, that's screen sharing. We are reading. We are reading. We're gonna get to the Circlet of Midnight. This is very small, so I'm going to quickly... I'm going to do this, and we might just... Oh boy. I don't know where my mouse is. There it is. Okay. So here, yeah, the writing is... okay. You know what? I'll read it like this. This feels better. I hope this is wide enough, because I would like to make it so that the box can still fit my camera in it, you know. So we're hoping so. Like this can still be there, but then my face blocks it. So I'd like to like have it here maybe. And then just make my face a bit smaller. Yeah. Okay. Alright, that's where we'll go. Just to drop more lore, the Almighty was a planet star-eating weapon used to destroy planets. Oh damn, yeah. I feel like the collapse had something to do with that as well. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that. And, yeah. Oh, I have a dog watching me reading. Very nice. Very nice. I like that. Destiny logs are usually short and to the point because they're usually picked up during missions. That's how video game logs usually work, yeah. So I really like that. So I think that they've definitely understood the assignment, which is probably the best compliment that I could give there. Completely unrelated to the collapse? Oh, okay. Alright, well, yeah, there you go. Not a Destiny lore knower. I am a Destiny lore enjoyer, though, which is, as long as there are people there to tell me the stories. Okay. We're moving on to the second thing, which is a lot longer. But it's quite fun. So I've read a lot of Robbie's writing before. It is very, very good. I've enjoyed... I think his style... it's very... His style is very well balanced, if I were to describe it that way. He describes the world... Everything is done in moderation, which I really enjoy. I think that would be a good way to describe his writing style. that he describes the world in a nice balanced way. Then he moves to characters when he feels the world has been described too much. He gives hints at the history every now and then, but yeah, I would say it's just a very well-balanced style of writing. It's very good. Also, he is good at writing dialogue. Like, dialogue is definitely a strong point here. And there are a lot of writing tropes, like things that you would see in successful fantasy writers that have been understood here by him, and he utilizes some of those techniques as well. So you'll see them as we go. Okay. Oh, God. Hang on. All right, so this is called The Circlet of Midnight, and it's by Sinopian. Here we go. It is said that the opening night of a play will make it or break it. In the case of the tale of Renard the Black, the drowned man, not only did the success of the play hinge upon the opening night, but also the success of its playwright and director Dittler Struck's career. After a set of critical and commercial failures, he'd fixed upon Renard's story as a last-ditch attempt to bring in the crowds and repair his reputation as an artist and actor of great merit. He had personally taken on the role of Sigismund, the play's nefarious villain, and the brother of Renard himself. I read the story of Renard and Sigismund, so I have that context, which is interesting. Dittler had been a terror on set, strict on his actors and demanding with his crew. It was his singular goal to make sure that everything went perfectly, and woe to anyone that stood in the way of that goal. The mammoth of a man's wobbling jowls and moustache had become a common sight at the Mildenhall Playhouse, and the bellowing of his outraged voice just as common a sound. Really loving the way that things are described here. It's just a very authentic way. It seems to follow the way that we would take knowledge of a person into ourselves. It feels like a very human, like in tune with how a human would interpret this. As tyrannical as Dittler may have been, the effect it had on the opening night was exactly as the director had hoped. Absolutely everything went off without a hitch. The audience laughed when they were supposed to, gasped at the shocking twists and turns of the plot, and he even noticed a woman crying in the front row during the death scene of the tragic Sigismund. He made a mental note to introduce himself afterwards. She looked wealthy. So these side notes are very, very Robbie. Like this kind of style, that's definitely a trademark of his, that like there are these kinds of breaks away from the main descriptions to get into the head of a character very quickly and then move back to the scene. It's really cool. The truth, however, was that he hadn't needed to worry about the play at all. After the affair at the Duvogar estate, Renard had hardly been out of the prints. There was currently a war on the streets between the Evening Standard and the Vatan Inquirer. The former paper claimed that Renard's actions had been a type of mythical justice dispensed upon traitors to the Empire and corrupt decadent nobles. Every other evening, it seemed, to have found a new highly trusted source, which claimed that he and the crown heir, Heliot Firion, were the closest of friends, and both intent on solving any problem one could imagine within the Empire. The latter had taken the opposite approach. The vile necromancer Renard was, in their editor's eyes, the greatest threat currently facing the Empire. Every day new tales of his strange sorceries and forbidden tastes reached the public eye, and his apparent influence over the crown heir, and thereby his ailing father, the Emperor, was to blame for each and every problem and injustice within the Empire's borders. Suffice it to say, everyone had an opinion about the man, and a great deal of newspapers were being sold, thanks to his controversial nature, which in turn ensured that the play's showings were sold out up to a month in advance before the opening night had even gone ahead. So the way that he connects a story, like the way that he sets up the plot here, is very interesting. It's through the mind of one character and how they act, and then he uses that to pivot into the greater world and how it's reacting, and then he takes the greater world's reaction and he then contextualizes once again the play, which is what he brought up at the beginning. So he goes, we're talking about a play, here's how the director works, here's what he thinks, here's what the world is thinking, and this is why the play is famous. And it's just this lovely little contained piece of writing that you could just keep as it is, and then that could be just it, end of story, you know? Very cool. Very, very cool. I also wanted to say that, yeah, you're starting to realize something about the world. Like, the more we read about it. There's an empire, and it's very medieval style. Robbie is a big fan of this kind of medieval fantasy as well, but high fantasy. He likes magic. So, yeah, this definitely kind of gives you an idea of that. The truth. An item which graces the front page of a newspaper only in the direst of circumstances was something altogether different. After he and Vespia LaRue had saved the Crown Prince, both had been awarded. Vespia had seen herself promoted to the rank of Captain of the Watch, and given a very generous stipend, as well as a Medal of the Prophet, one of the highest honors the Empire could bestow upon one of its servants. Renard had been given the title to a small farming estate in the southern provinces, and had been offered the position of magical tutor to the Crown Prince. Given the fact that his now incarcerated brother had been the previous holder of that position, he had politely declined. So we now know his brother was Sigismund, but also there's a play like talking about Sigismund's death, so that's very interesting. And it looks like, if we skip ahead, yeah, it looks like we're going to focus on Renard now. So what an interesting way to talk about, what an interesting way to introduce our main character in the context of a play that has nothing to do with him, but is focused on him. But he's not watching the play or anything. And then we actually move to him, which was very cool. Yeah, very cool setup. The farming estate offered a modest income that allowed him to rent a room of his own in the city, and seemed to manage itself well enough. A steady stream of eager letters from the estate's majordomo had made it clear how much they looked forward to him summering there, and he hadn't had the heart as of yet to explain that his work kept him all too busy within the city. Ah yes, we love working non-stop for the Lord of the Manor to arrive, and we serve only him. Very interesting. Very, like, imperial, sort of medieval style of, like, nobles hold all the land and monarchs and stuff like that. Interesting. Said work was an intense investigation into the nature and powers of the Fae. The Fae is a very, like, big plot point here. The promised access to the Imperial Library's restricted section had not materialized, and when he had managed to grab Tyler Weish, commander of the Scarlet Robes, she made it quite clear that his official story should mention absolutely nothing about her, or her order on pain of, or her order on pain of, well, pain. But even the small amount of knowledge he could glean from the rest of the Imperial Library caused Renard's concern to grow. The Fae were immortal, incredibly powerful, and most importantly, they held a grudge. All of this weighed heavily as he watched the opening night performance of The Drowned Man from a seat at the back of the Emperor's box. Absolutely amazing contextualization. Now you can, like, I can literally imagine a camera panning, like, to what he's thinking of, and then panning back to the stage, and, like, the music comes back in because it's been muted before while we see his thoughts, and wow, so cool, man. So cool. What a way to introduce the scene. Red velvet curtains flanked each side of the ivory-white inlaid with gold box, ready to be drawn together at a moment's notice if the Emperor, or, in this case, given that he was bed-stricken the crown heir, required privacy during a show. He sat upon a wide, high-backed, and well-cushioned chair of the finest teak hardwood. In front of him sat Vespia LaRue herself, wearing a green dress uniform that was all braids and expensive furs. To her right was the crown heir in a fine silk frock and a coat of light blue, though Renard couldn't help but notice that the young man's head turned to take in her reaction, or leaned in to make a murmuring comment more often than he seemed to watch the play. A trio of well-groomed, extravagantly dressed advisors filled the rest of the chairs, and Renard was well aware of the dirty glances they shot at him when they thought he wasn't looking. The wizard himself was wearing his usual attire. Renard is a wizard, yeah. One of the benefits of wielding such magical power was the ability to ignore the traditionally restrictive dress conventions of a black tie event. Among other things, a black doublet of silk and white furred cloak of the same hue. A new set of red-tinted spectacles sat upon his face, obscuring the emptiness of his left eye socket. Oh yeah, you got an eye taken out. Also, interesting, hue relates to color. I think he means to mean like a black doublet of silk and a white furred cloak of the same hue, like hue meaning shade of color, I guess. So is it like what? But why is interesting? Does it mean like they're both silken? Is that the vibe? I'm not sure. I'd have to ask him. Anyway, he'd been distracted the entire night. The only thing which had woken him from his reveries had been moments when the crowd gasped or shouted or otherwise reacted, and the twangs of pain in his left hand every so often. A hand the thin man had healed in only the most superficial of terms. Before he knew it, the performance had finished to a shower of standing applause. The cast had come out to bow, and curtains were being drawn over both the stage and the Imperial box. So, what did you think? It was with a start that he realized Vespia had asked him a question, and that the Crown Heir and his advisors were eagerly awaiting his response. It was inaccurate, he answered truthfully. As you're well aware, I'd never engaged my brother in a sword fight, nor did he ever cut my eye out during one. And I can assure you, if I were ever to be in a duel with the man, he would triumph. His skills far outweigh mine. It should be noted also that, despite the climax of the play, we did not engage in a magical battle within the Cathedral of Undyne, while throwing ribbons at one another. The Crown Prince offered a few words. I believe the ribbons were intended to represent something a tad more exciting, my friend. Fire, or lightning, perhaps. There was a moment of silence, and he could tell the others had thoroughly enjoyed the play, and were perhaps a tad disappointed to hear his review. However, as a play and a story, it was fantastic. Dittler, what an actor, no? Renaud rubbed his hands together as he spoke, wincing only slightly at the pain in his left hand, and was pleased to see the group's positive reaction. A really nice little description of how people generally act about this kind of stuff. When they ask you what you think, it's like they didn't write the play, but a lot of people, when they hear that you didn't like something, it's very much like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, vibe killer, you know? It's very interesting. Like, they expect you to say something good about it because that's the energy they have in the group. Very cool. One of the best, I say. This is the first time I've been to the theatre in years, you know. Vespia had mentioned that quite often throughout the night, such was her giddiness at the whole affair, her usually stoic personality seemed to give way when it came to the theatre in all its glamour. The abundance of champagne certainly didn't hurt either. And in a few minutes you'll be able to speak to him. The cast and some of the theatre's sponsors are having an after-show event at the Playhouse Gallery. I'm sure he'll want to hear both of your opinions on his performance. Heliot clapped his hands together and strode out of the booth, the door held open by a pair of white, wigged attendants for him. Actually, Vespia, did I ever tell you I've acted a little bit myself? The corridor it opened out into was filled with the Empire's most eminent individuals, and each of them paused the moment they saw Renard, trailing slightly behind Vespia and the air. Hue meaning saturation or color. Yeah, it just sort of jumped out to me. I'm not really sure what the intention was there. Anyway, there's something also that Robbie likes to do here. He likes to speak in a kind of modified passive voice. What I mean by this is when he describes actions as movement. And that's really cool. It makes everything feel more dynamic. It makes the world feel like it's living, like it's alive. For example, the corridor opened out into this. Like, corridors don't open. Corridors, like, stop. Like, the corridor led to this is the way that you would describe it. But when you say the corridor opened out into this, it makes it feel so much more alive. And there's another one that jumped out at me as well, but he does this very often. It's this one. The red velvet curtains flanked each side of the ivory white inlaid with gold box. Like this, these movement-based descriptions are just really, really effective. Anyway, the mental image of the man leading a horde of vicious undead, which they and some of the Empire's finest knights had been completely unequipped to handle, still loomed large in many of their minds. Wizards were always viewed with a slight apprehension. One never knew what kind of secrets they might have uncovered, what spirits they may have in their service, or what otherworldly schemes they may be playing against one another. Indeed, it was often said in jest that much like crows, a group of mages was known as an argument of wizards. Ah, Renard. Heliot turned to face the man, his features lightening up as he motioned down the corridor. Your mother, I think she's waiting for you. That made Renard freeze, and his left hand ball up into a fist. She was part of the reason he'd declined each invitation to an extravagant party, or an intimate little upper-class soiree. Sivenya the sorceress. Even the mention of her brought back memories of his training under her, of how she'd ignored him in favor of his brother, of how one of her servants had once beaten him so hard that his eye fell out of its socket. And there she was, at the end of the corridor. But he was no longer Renard the Acolyte. He no longer had to rely on her for his fortunes in the world, or act as her errand boy. So he took a deep breath, fiddled with his spectacles, and nodded at Heliot's words. I think you're correct, my lord. I'll meet you at the gallery in a few moments. He offered the young man an incline of his head, and then marched his way up towards Sivenya. She was still as youthful and beautiful as ever. The magical glamour she vainly conjured ensured that she was all luscious black hair, plump lips, and enticing curves. But as Renard grew closer, he realized he was starting to see cracks appear. His power had grown enough that he could almost see past the illusion. Crow's feet around her eyes, cracked lips, graying hair. He wasn't perceptive enough to completely shatter the illusion, but it no longer held the power over him that it used to. Be careful as a writer. Just putting this out there. I'm not saying that this is necessarily a Sinopian thing specifically, but just make sure that female characters are not the only vain ones in your universe. Vanity is often a quality that men have historically placed onto women as having something that they inherently have. Like, women are so vain, they make up their faces every day, and they sort of focus on so much time in the mirror, they take ages to put an outfit on and get ready for the day and stuff. And that attachment can be quite damaging to view as truth. So I would say that if you're a writer making characters that are vain, make sure there's a little bit of balance, and like there is some vanity that exists elsewhere, or that it's not a pattern that only female characters have in your work. So far this is only one, and she's there for a reason, because she's a sorceress, she craves power, and so she's like a witch, right? Like, witches often not you know, witches in the general sense, but like, you know, the classic like sort of the classic like, I guess, like hag-like type of vibe, where they sort of cover themselves up with a glamour to appear more enticing, and that can work for sure. But there's definitely a pattern that mostly women do that traditionally, which is a little bit odd of a stereotype to have. So at least, like, this is the first time I've seen it, but it's just something to keep in mind, that if it's going to happen again, make note of if it happens to another woman, because then we might have a bias that we need to, like, work on there. Just something that came to mind. Son, you don't wear the glass eye I gifted you anymore. Her voice was still as smooth as honey, though, and she was still followed by a gaggle of tittering noble sycophants, eager to gain access to even the smallest magical trinkets, or a love potion that would allow them to ensnare the match of their dreams. That's good, I suppose. It wouldn't go with the doublet. A little out of fashion, no? Vitgulian, too, by the looks of it. I've always thought them dour. Renard cleared his throat as her followers smirked at his attire. Sivenya, of course, wore the most exquisite, expensive dress of green silk the city had to offer. If the Empress had still been alive, she would have found herself often upstaged by the city's preeminent sorceress. No, Sivenya, I don't. After all, just as he had been about to launch into the admonishment he'd just worked up the courage to attempt, she cut him off. Sivenya? Renard, you can't call me mother. Have I been so horrid? Hold on. She came forward, placing a hand on his shoulder, and speaking low enough that only he heard her. We're a family. After what happened to your brother, we should stick together. We're all we have. I mean, if it wasn't for you, he'd still be free. But you didn't love him enough to save him that fate. Renard's features contorted into one of pure fury. How dare she speak of his brother like that, when it was her teachings that had driven him to murder a man in an attempt to please her, her vanity that had seen him paraded around every event of import in the city just to increase her own reputation. Cradled against his chest within the folds of his doublet was the mask he had saved from the fires of the Duvogare estate. The mask of the Thin Man. He was sorely tempted to place his palm up against it, to allow the Fae's power to flow through him, and to see Svenja writhe in pain on the floor like he once had. But the moment passed, and instead he leaned in close, speaking aloud that Svenja's followers heard him. "I can see your wrinkles, you old hag." So there's very much a, there's a relationship there, and the past is very clearly illustrated that he holds no small amount of contempt for her. Like, he wants to see her burn, mainly because of what she did to him. Like, her lessons in making him a wizard were incredibly brutal. I mean, he's already described that she was the reason his eye fell out. And, yeah, I mean, him finally being able to get his revenge and, like, fight back against her is a really cathartic moment. Even if you haven't had the context of his training before, and I haven't, because he didn't write about it in depth before, but to have a moment where someone who's been under that kind of abusive thumb has managed to rise to a position where they can confidently fight back against it is wonderful. Like, it's a really cool moment for him. So yeah, also it is nice. So this is what I talked about. When I speak of her appearance as being important, it is because she as a character is vain. Absolutely. And for him to connect with, you know, that part of her that she holds so dearly, and to try and break through that facade in public would be a very big humiliation for her. So he knows what strings he needs to pull for that, which is very interesting. Have I been so horrid is such a well-written manipulation. I agree. Yeah, absolutely. She very much, like, you know, reclaiming names and words and questioning the way that you describe things is very much a way to shift power from you to them. So yeah. Even the most powerful of illusions wouldn't have been able to hide the shock across her face. She looked as if Renaud had just slapped her. He offered her an exaggerated smile, an incline of his head. Then he turned on his heel and followed after Vespia and Heliot. And she's gone. That's amazing. That's very cool. I like that interaction. He found the pair within the Playhouse's lavish art gallery in deep conversation with another. A tall, middle-aged man with short black hair streaked with grey, a blue navy uniform, and a bicorn hat tucked under his arm. His face was marked with laugh lines, and it was clear that the grin plastered across his face came easily to him. The grin only grew wider as they noticed Renaud's approach, and with a booming voice that carried around the whole gallery, the navy man spoke. Okay, so this is a wonderful example of how you can effectively describe a character. You take them from the top down to the bottom. You go from head to clothes, and then you go back to, like, the kind of expression they have. And you don't do too many descriptions and stuff. You go with, like, clothes, color, things that we would notice first. We give someone, like, an up and down, right? We say, okay, hat, like, hair, color, outfit. Oh, he's got a hat under his arm. Oh, he's smiling. He's got laugh lines. There's age to him as well. And then, as a writer, what you can do is often we are attracted to the most prominent feature of a person when we see them for the first time. And that the writer has done here by saying the grin. So when we talk about it was clear that the grin plastered across his face came easily to him, this is the thing that we would likely attach ourselves to more than anything else. And therefore the writer takes that and goes, the grin only grew wider as Renaud arrives, tying us back into the scene with the description of the character rather than having them completely separate from each other. This is a wonderful way to introduce a character. Wonderful. The taking, like, it keeps descriptions flowing with the story, which is something that he does, that Robbie specifically does really, really well. Rather than having them as completely separate from each other, it ties in and it has that connection. So that's really, really cool. There he is, the man of the hour. Well, out with the cast and crew of our wonderful tale. Out with the cast and crew of our wonderful tale, of course. I've never heard that word spoken like that before. Interesting. In a flurry of movement, the man turned, doffing his bicorn to the various cast around the room. as well as Dittler himself, stood opposite the wealthy woman who'd appreciated his performance so much, and then tucking it back under his elbow. "I've wanted to meet you for some time. I hear there's no better wizard in the city." The man grabbed Reynard by the hand the moment he was at arm's length, shaking it with such vigor that the wizard was jumping up and down at the motion. Hello, thank you, mister? Jean Delafose, a pleasure." Vespia smirked at the way her friend was bobbed up and down like a ragdoll at that handshake. Heliod offered a more helpful response. "Grand Admiral Jean Delafose, to be exact. He was just telling us all about his planned expedition." "Oh?" Reynard tilted his head to the side, attempting to feign interest. He'd never seen the sea himself, and couldn't claim to know much about seafaring matters or admit to much interest. "What sort of expedition?" "An expedition is the diplomatic way to put it. The young lord is far more adept at such things than I am. What I'd call it is putting the fear of the Empire into a rogue upstart." The Admiral's fist hit his open palm with a loud thump. "We're heading to the west. We've heard there's something afoot there. One of those barbarians is uniting the fiefdoms, killing and burning his way through the whole place. It's just a matter of time until he has the whole place under his fist, and then he'll turn his gaze to us. Mark my words." Reynard knew of the petty kingdoms. They'd once been part of the Chandtheran Empire, but with its collapse they'd fractured into 100 constantly competing kingdoms, duchies, and city-states. It was common for the third or fourth sons of wealthy nobility to venture there as mercenaries. Ah!
Oh, sorry.
Flashback. No, it's okay. Hi.
There's a bird.
A bird where?
Outside the door.
Oh, here with us?
Oh, in the building.
Oh, shit.
Place.
Are you okay?
I'm okay.
Okay, cool. All right.
The bird seems very confused.
Okay, I'll help it if it's still there when I'm finished. Okay.
I'm going to do the...
Okay, cool. Heron's going to the hairdresser. I'm very excited. Have fun. See you soon. Love you. Bye. Okay. The gates of heaven open again. All right. So here is a lovely way for us to describe the world. So at this point, he goes into a more like distant description. Note that here Robbie only describes the world when it pertains to something the characters are talking about. So, and then know that he also only dedicates a paragraph to it, nothing more, and then he comes back to the story. So there's no over-explaining of things, which I think is really, really nice. Darker rumors swirled there too. That it was the haven of brutally barbarous war bands, that vampires and half-mad hedge sorcerers established their own decadent domains within it. The Empire was protected from such anarchy by the spine of a set of massive mountain ranges, but a united petty kingdoms would nevertheless be a political threat. "I've gathered a great many noble warriors under me. We're going to sail to the west and assist the locals in putting this upstart in his place. Which leads me to why I was so happy to see you, Reynard. Oh, he wants his help." Finally, he released the wizard's hand. "I'd like to ask you to join us." Called it. "From what we've heard, this man is a canny and crafty sort when it comes to magic. We could use someone like you. Your empire could use someone like you." He must have noted the apprehension in Reynard's face, for he put up a white-gloved hand and offered him a grin. "You don't have to answer now. Think it over, and if you need to find me, just head to the Admiralty's quarters." "Thank you, Grand Admiral Delafose." He sent an apologetic look around the group, motioning towards Vespia.
Sorry, but can you help me? I am afraid to go out the door.
Oh, because of the bird?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll help you. All right.
I think it's confused because there's a glass, but it can see outside.
Yeah. Okay. Listen, I must enter heaven for a brief moment, so just hold on. We'll come back in a second. Yeah. Ah. Bird. Okay. A bird had flown in and onto our stairwell and didn't know how to get out. Okay. All right, let's keep going. I must enter heaven. Okay. Thank you, Grand Admiral Delafoes. He sent an apologetic look around the group, motioning towards Vespia. Do you all mind if I grab my friend? I'd like to have a word with her. Of course they don't mind. Vespia passed her glass of champagne off to the nearest servant, motioning for Reynard to lead the way. Once they were out of earshot, she spoke. I think Heliod might have a bit of a crush on me. I think you know he does. Thinking of becoming the future Empress? He asked as they strode past painting after painting. Of course not. But there's nothing wrong with enjoying the attention and company of the Empire's most sought-after match, is there? Besides, I think he's actually quite nice. Not what I expected the Crown Prince to be like at all. You mean a petulant brat? She snorted, nodding. Yes, exactly. You know, if it wasn't my favorite thing about you, I might tell you to work on all those straightforward answers sometime. What was it you wanted to discuss, anyway? The pair stopped in front of a particularly beautiful painting of the River Vat, which offered the fantastical view of the Grand River running through the city, completely devoid of the pollution reality offered. That little turn of phrase is really cool. I wanted to give you something. Reynard dipped a hand into his doublet, offering forth a necklace made of an iridescent blue and silver metal. It was a small rectangle and completely without adornments. This. Reynard, it's... Vespia took the necklace into her hand, looking it over. I'll be honest, it's not very nice. It's not meant for fashion, he explained, motioning for her to put it on. What I've given you is a very powerful artifact, one that I was only able to get with the help of the Crown Prince, I should add. Vespia placed it around her neck, tucking it inside her dress uniform and motioning for him to continue. It doesn't feel any different from a regular necklace. The thin man is a fae, and the fae hold great grudges, Vespia. What I've given you is from the Emperor's personal vault. It hides you from magical divination. It should protect you from the thin man if they were to turn their attention toward you. And what about you? Have you got one of these? Or Heliod, what if the thin man tries to possess him again? Heliod has more than enough people devoted to protecting him, some who are far greater mages than I am. As for my own protection, Reynard offered a nervous little chuckle, shrugging his shoulders. I've been studying. The necklace isn't a permanent solution. I've come to the conclusion that the only way to protect us from the thin man is to have someone just as strong as an ally. I'm going to look for Sirenki. Vespia arched a brow at that. I don't like the sound of that. How do you even know he's still alive, and how do you plan on finding him? He's a magician. If he was dead, I think we would all know it by now. As to how I plan to find him, there are ways to try and commune with people like him. Magicians, I mean. There was a book on it in the Imperial Library. Reynard paused, grabbing a glass of champagne from the tray of a passing servant and taking a long, long gulp. When he was done, nearly half the glass was empty. It wasn't there. I spoke with the librarian, and their records say that it was last taken out by Sigismund, by my brother. So, I'm going to go and speak with him. And that's it. Don't forget to be a lit RPG, male MC, magic system, monsters, loot, farmer, mage. My elf girlfriend. Oh my god. Alright, well, that's that. Very nice. So, I think, yeah, so that is all he is written, that is all he wrote of this, like, little teaser so far. This is a teaser for the first chapter. As he said here, this is a teaser of the first chapter. But I don't believe I've read this part. This is more like a sequel to what I read. I read the story before this that set all of this up. Like Reynard being in the good graces and things, like I read the story that took him to the Thin Man when he'd possessed someone else, introduced the Fae. Like that's the part I read. It was very, very nice. A really compelling story. And this one is more of a, like an episode 2 kind of vibe, which I thought was cool. I really like how Robbie has this this continuation of characters, like the adventures of Reynard, basically. And it's just really the plot is unfolding in a way that doesn't make me feel like what's happening. It is following such a natural thread for me. The golden thread of plot here is making just sense. There's nothing here that I'm questioning. It's just easy to go along for the ride, which is good. It's good to trust an author like this. So yeah, I'll be honest, it's not very nice. It's a great way to continue her abrupt forwardness. Yes, it was described earlier as Vespia being very, very abrupt and stoic usually. And you'll notice that when she's with Renard, she becomes like much more comfortable because obviously they're friends. And she becomes more herself, which is, yeah, really, really nice. I really like that. So, yes, a couple things. First, I really love, I think, for examples of strengths, like writing strengths for Robbie, I think probably his greatest strength, I would really have to think about that. I think it's something that I mentioned earlier, but I can't quite remember all the things I mentioned earlier. Yeah, I know, right? My ads are crazy. The adverts I get in Korea here are wild. It's mostly a Korean like dating, like a dating game, like one of those types of games. Not dating real people, but like, yeah, it's very weird. Like dating sims. Yeah. Usually Korean dating sims. Those are the ads that I get. No, and I don't play dating sims. So, yeah. Anyway, I think Robbie's greatest strength as a writer is his ability. I will keep the description that I made at the beginning ring true here. His ability to balance things. To balance description of characters with context of world events, with lore, with history, with dialogue, with, yeah, it's wonderful how he balances things. And with that said, I think my actual opinion for this as to his greatest strength is his ability to connect everything together. So when we read, nothing feels like a completely out of place. It is a really good indication of the art of segue, basically. He's really good at segue. This, not the little scooter that you run around, but but segue, like the ability to connect things to other things in a very natural way. He's very, very, very good at that. Yeah. So I thoroughly enjoy his writing. I really, really do. I will say, though, I do find there's evidence of some stereotyping in there. I think that from what I've read as well, a lot of the... I think I know Robbie well enough to know that he's probably done this on purpose, though. So I think he's trying to get us in the minds of what the world is like there, and it's very... Because it's medieval... It's probably pretty patriarchal, but I'm noticing a couple of those stereotypes, not just in here, but in the previous ones that I read as well. There were a couple of like stereotypical ways of introducing female characters, and the kind of things they talk about, and when relating to like matchmaking and like courting and dates and things like that, anything romantically interested was very much like female centered, and not really things that men would kind of pursue, but women would just kind of exist in as like a normal part of life, which I think is a way to illustrate how the world is. And I think, yeah, I know the author well enough to know that that's probably what he's doing, but but yeah, it is something to note that I just wanted to put out there. But yeah, I thought that adding that as evidence to the world is once again an effective way of communicating what the world might be like. Because if the world is patriarchal in that sense, and women's roles are the sort of average woman's role is mainly relegated to like matchmaking and things like that, then you know that's pretty effectively described, I would say. But yeah, I'm a fan of the whole package. Just in general, I really love the way the plot develops. I really love the dialogue. The dialogue, it feels like something I talk about quite a lot. It feels very natural, just like everything else. But also it feels diverse. When a different character is speaking, you always know it's great. Because the turns of phrase are different, and the order of words is different. It's a really, really, really good thing to have. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I'm a big, big fan. So yeah, that was the Circlet of Midnight, Part 1. I'm not sure if we'll ever get anything more, because the last time we were directed to this was, I'll actually confirm for you. It was exactly a year ago. It was the 13th of June last year. So that's very cool. Obviously, like, I think he's written more since then, but it's been really cool. I've read a lot of his stuff, and I really like it. So yeah, that's the reading. If anyone else has any reading to give me, please do so now. And if not, we shall slowly phase out until we end. I don't want to do anything else today. I'm feeling a little bit not like streaming. Yeah, we could do some Risk off stream as well. I feel more chilled about that. But yeah, if anyone else has any reading stuff to give me, I don't think you do. If you are in the Discord and you would like me to read stuff like this and give you whatever feedback that you think you need, please send me all of your submissions and I will read them. I would love to pull them apart. I'd love to appreciate you as a writer. I'd love to get to the things that you think are awesome and the things that you'd like to work on. I'd love to work on that with you. I'd love to read your writing. And yeah, really, really, yeah, really, really exciting part of the stream for me. I do love reading other people's stuff and appreciating their writing. So if you have anything that you've written that you want me to look at and you want me to analyze, then I'm here. So you can absolutely do that. Please use me. Oh, cool. What a short stream. Honestly, I'm fine with this. I'm totally cool with this. I'm the boss, so I get to stream for as long as I want. And I've decided to end things here. So that'll be all that we do from the reading today. It's been really nice. I've like written a cubic buttload, that's wild, of poetry and character backstories, but nothing recently and nothing much worth sharing. Okay, well, if you feel like there is something worth sharing, then feel free to send it my way. If not, there's no pressure to, of course, but if you'd like to, then you can. Alright, everyone, nice and quick little hour-and-a-half stream. I hope that's okay with everyone. If you're watching on the VOD, thanks for sticking around. Maybe this stream will be a little bit more manageable than, you know, like a monster Mass Effect stream and stuff. Speaking of Mass Effect, we will be returning to that. But for now, I think it'll be nice to just end things and chill for a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna do. It's now 18 minutes past 11. Everyone, thank you so much for being here for this hyper small stream. I really appreciate you being here. If you're watching from the VOD, if you've been active in chat, if you've not been active in chat, if I've been on in the background, it's wonderful. Anyway, your presence has been so appreciated. Thanks for being here, and thanks for making me a part of your day. That we could spend this time together has been great, so go on now. Have a wonderful day, no matter what time of day it is for you, wherever you are in the world. Make sure you drink some water, stay hydrated, be kinder to yourself than you're currently being, and I'll see you in about 10 hours from now, where we play Mass Effect 3, and do it all over again. Take care!